What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Roman to lose the title, the top stars removed from the AEW video game, Triple H erases Karrion Kross's call-up, The Rock working a mixed tag match at WrestleMania, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. But now let's the intro and get straight into our first story. Our first story looks at Roman to lose the title. Atop in today's news is a report from WrestleVotes concerning Clash at the Castle. Now if you're looking to avoid any potential spoilers, you might want to get out now. WrestleVotes recently tweeted, "For the first time in a long time, there has been some discussions creatively regarding Roman Reigns dropping the title or titles. I'm hearing multiple ideas have intrigued those making the final call come this Saturday in Cardiff. Should be an interesting week ahead." Now in light of the hellacious beating McIntyre suffered on last week's SmackDown, you'd think the WWE wouldn't want him to look like a punk in the UK. And in case you missed it, the Bloodline, including would-be member Sami Zayn, laid McIntyre out and Drew posted pictures of the bruises and other images of violence inflicted upon him. Where things get interesting is the talk of whether Roman will lose one title or both titles. Having McIntyre win both titles would solve the problem of a part-time champion, but does the WWE want the Scottish Warrior to hold both titles? If it doesn't, the WWE could have Drew defeat Roman at Cardiff, then reveal that Paul Heyman snuck in a clause to the contract that the match wasn't for the Undisputed Championship, but only for the WWE Championship or Universal. Either way, a clean loss by Roman would be huge for Drew's career and could help establish him as the company's babyface. And while we aren't dismissing the idea that the WWE could be working the fans by leaking the story, it would be disappointing for Drew to come up short in his title quest, especially at a show with so much at stake. Next up, the Good Brothers to WWE. Fans of the Good Brothers are wondering what's next for Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, as they appear to be done with Impact Wrestling. Well, according to PW Insider's Mike Johnson, the team recently spoke with the WWE about a comeback, but may have other things in mind. Johnson reports the Good Brothers wrestled their last match with Impact and are setting their sights on New Japan Pro Wrestling. Johnson added that work is already underway on the third edition of the Good Brothers and Rocky Romero's Talkin' Shopomania 3 pay-per-view event, although there's no set date for it. Johnson mentioned talks with the WWE. Now, there have been overtures from WWE, the Vince McMahon era regime, not the current regime towards the team, but WWE sources indicate talks at the time fizzled. And Johnson mentioned that the Good Brothers' bad experience with the WWE last time around didn't help during negotiations, and that they weren't going to return on the cheap, and that led to talks dissipating. Of course, there's a whole new world in WWE now, so we'll see if that changes things. Well, with Triple H apparently willing to sign anything with a pulse, could the Good Brothers return to the WWE? And if so, would they try and reunite with AJ Styles? Next up, Finn Balor picks new Judgment Day members. Finn Balor is enjoying a bit of a surge in his career thanks to his involvement with the Judgment Day, and recently spoke with Ryan Satin on Satin's Out of Character podcast about potential recruits to the faction. Now, some of the names may surprise you. I had thought of a couple of people. I love Walter, aka Gunther, but he's doing his own thing. Tommaso Ciampa is doing his thing with The Miz, so that's kind of off the table. Balor looked at a big name on Raw, suggesting there could be room for another heel turn. Maybe AJ, we haven't essentially fallen out, we're just not on the same page. Maybe AJ, bring AJ in. I think his work as a heel is just, pardon the pun, but phenomenal. Finn explored other options as well, including young talent, and saying, well, we could go and find someone new, a fresh face from NXT. Given a little more time to think about it, I could have given you a better answer. I'd love Brock in the Judgment Day. While Balor might be able to get AEW's Brock Henderson, the thought of Brock Lesnar in the group seems delusional. One name that continues to be discussed is Dominic Mysterio, who would benefit from a chance to get out of his father's shadow and see if he can get over without him. Putting Dom into the faction could give him room to grow while also giving him the security of being in a group. What you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Vince Russo secretly worked for USA Network. Or was a former WWE, WCW and TNA writer Vince Russo secretly working as a consultant for the USA Network? Well, that's a claim Russo recently made via his YouTube channel, saying, "I've been keeping a little secret for the last 2+ years that I want to talk about on this show. Well bro, I'm gonna break the news to you on this show. I've not said this publicly before March pre-Mania bro, but it was right before Mania in 2020 up until this past Mania in 2022. So basically bro, for 2 years I was consulting for the USA Network, bro. But there was more bros to come, as for 2 years bro, the USA Network paid me very well. Now if you want to know how this came about, let's take a couple of steps back and I will explain this to you. I got in contact with the vice president of the USA Network who was overseeing Raw. He knew who I was and called me back immediately, but his incredible tale continued. So for 2 years, I was consulting weekly with the USA Network. For 2 years I heard the number and the rating and the viewership and the return on the investment. Don't tell me I don't know what the F I'm talking about. When it comes to numbers, when it comes to networks, I don't care if it's 1999 or 2020, I know where they stand. Russo remains a controversial figure in pro wrestling, as some fans laud him for his work in WWF during the Attitude Era, while others look at his failures in WCW as a sign his WWF success was largely due to Vince McMahon's oversight. Nonetheless, Russo isn't afraid to share his opinion, and this latest story will have fans talking as they wonder if it's true and what the hell Russo was doing for the USA Network. Do you guys believe this? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, top stars removed from the AEW video game. It looks like FTR fans won't be able to play as Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler in AEW's upcoming Fight Forever console game. According to a report from Fightful Select, FTR was originally included in the game's model phase but didn't make the cut into the final phase. This report claims Harwood and Wheeler are unhappy about their deletion since the video game appearances usually mean some extra cash. No word on whether FTR might make it into DLC or why they were cut to begin with. Their absence shouldn't come as a surprise, as Kenny Omega mentioned several months back that AEW would have to cut names. Nonetheless, their exclusion is big and deprives fans of a chance to play one of the promotion's top tag teams. Next up, Triple H erases Karrion Kross's call-up. Did Karrion Kross appear on Raw? While you may remember Kross's bizarre attire and questionable jobs to Jeff Hardy, the WWE would prefer that you forget the first run ever even happened. At least that's how Dave Meltzer sees it, as during the recent Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer discussed Kross's current presentation. So they announced it was his debut, so they're basically trying to pretend that Karrion Kross is a new guy. Kross and his fans would likely like to have those painful weeks stricken from the WWE's record. Perhaps they'll explain Kross's past experiences as an imposter, much like they did with the fake Kane during the WWE's promotion for Kane's See No Evil film. Are there any other superstars you'd like to see get a second chance in terms of disregarding their first run in WWE? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, another WWE superstar getting their first name back. Times are changing, and one of many changes is the return of wrestlers' first names, one of which could be Theory returning to his name Austin Theory. Wrestling News recently tweeted that Theory is listed as Austin Theory on the upcoming WWE live event lineups. And finally, is The Rock working a mixed tag match at WrestleMania? And last but not least, is The Rock working a mixed tag match at Mania? Well, current AEW announcer Jim Ross thinks it's a possibility that The Rock and WWE may opt in for in order to get the People's Champ into the ring with Roman Reigns. Speaking on his Grill and JR podcast, Ross remarked, "Here's the thing, I could see The Rock having a mixed tag match with his daughter at WrestleMania. I can see that. Now there will be naysayers that will knock that idea, which is fine. That's expected. But that's a safe option. It's a way to get him on TV, get his name and her name and image in the promotion." Now bears repeating that currently there's no confirmation that The Rock's hectic Hollywood schedule will even allow him to appear at WrestleMania. However, working a tag match might alleviate the concern of studio executives who might be less likely to sign The Rock to a film deal if it happens to begin shooting near WrestleMania. A mixed tag match would also be a fantastic way for The Rock's daughter to get mainstream exposure in arguably one of the WWE's biggest matches in recent memory. If it does go with a mixed tag match, who should Roman team with? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.